It is another day, but he will give no reprieve. On the hunt, Dan the man, going at it as we speak on a chilly November day. What are you doing, Danny? What you got in there, Danny? What you finding there, buddy? Welcome back, Sawmill, everybody, on a cold November morning. Danny and I have been running around. We had to deliver that big spruce shelf to the boutique place that it's going into this morning. That was a lot of fun. You know, to see, try to get that thing inside that place. And we are back on Josko Katapovich's cherry. We got a mill. We have to slab out one more log for Josko. And then what we have to do is we have to take this cherry off, get him 9 of the pitch pine 2-inch thick clear boards for his stiles and rails for his new funky barn doors, house doors, garage door things that he's going to make. And then we have to mill a pitch pine to make up the balance for our friend Australia Brett, who is building some sort of weird platform on a lake or something like that. He needs a bunch of 2-inch thick material to do it, and he is going to take the balance of the not clear stuff from Josko, and we're going to add to it to get him his platform size. So we're going to try and knock out 2 birds today, and then we have to get going on Mike Trotto stuff. So it's no rest for the weary. After Mike Trotto's stuff, we got to move over to Ben Silva's timber frame order that he placed with us. So it's just one thing after another. The weather has not been cooperating. I am just kind of buried in chores around here while trying to keep an eye on Danny. And kind of is what it is. You know, I'm kind of picking my best days. Yesterday it was hovered around freezing all day, and it blew like 40, 50 miles an hour, like all day. I shouldn't say that. It's an exaggeration. I sound like a fisherman. It probably blew 20 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour all day long. And it was freezing cold with the wind chill. What I want to do is, if you guys saw my big blow up and hissy fit that I threw about milling the black cherry the other day, I want to show you some of them, because in hindsight, they really didn't come out that bad. They're actually kind of beautiful. And I don't expect any different from this log. This log does have a very small tension check going this way on both ends that we're going to try to cut out. And overall should be pretty simple, you would think. You know, we metal detected it. We know there's no metal in it. Cross your fingers. And we got to get this thing stuffed in over there. And let me take you over and show you kind of the worst one from the other day. So in all honesty, this is what I consider the worst one. There is a pith check down the middle, but you have to keep in mind that Josko is breaking this stuff down for furniture. It's going to be beautiful quarter sawn down the 2 sides of that if he cuts out that pith check in the center there. And this will be almost a total save. So he needs to kind of take out that right down the center, and he'll have quarter sawn wood on both sides. And I think that it will yield plenty of wood. Now, if you see, our Stella Cut band was leaving a couple of marks on the wood. It's not super uncommon. But for Stella Cut bands, you know, usually they cut a little bit smoother than this, which doesn't matter. These are going to be broken down and planed and resawn and dried and the whole 9 yards. But I did want to point that out. Now, I did just get in a package from Norwood, which has a couple of sets of new belts. And I think that these little lines on here, because I'm using that old belt that I didn't have a choice, because we destroyed 2 of them. New set of belts. It's got new bearings for my band wheels. There's nothing wrong with the bearings in my band wheels. However, I don't think it ever hurts to have an extra set lying around, and I didn't. And I also got a new battery because the one that's in there is getting weak. And I think that's about it in the stuff that I got from Norwood. Belts, bearings, battery. There's something else. I just can't remember what it was. And we'll be putting those on, but I'm going to run what I got today. I am going to run it just the way it is. We're going to slab this out, and we're going to try and grab that pitch pine and mill that out and take it from there. I think that this will certainly survive that. And the more mileage we get on some of this stuff, the better. So I guess let's get at it. All right, so let's see if we can hump through this thing. Just for your info, I am flat sawing this. We are just sawing it into slabs. We're going to take a few off this this side just to get ourselves a good opening face, and then we'll flip the thing all the way over. We'll set 8/4 scale, and we will slab through the whole log. Shouldn't take us very long, unless, you know, catastrophe hits or something like that. But we're going to start. We want to get a good opening face because I don't want to waste the 2-inch piece that's underneath it. So I don't want some little, you know, sliver of opening face here. Probably going to be somewhere around 14 inches high here. It's close. Let's try it at 14, and if we have to burn a 1-inch flitch to make a better opening face, then we will, but let's try it at 14. Now this log does have a little bit of curve in it. It was hump up. There was some tension in that side. Hopefully we just got rid of that tension. Is our hope. This wood will go right in the firewood pile. And as long as I have, I definitely do. 2 inches, we're going to burn a slab off right now. So we're going to come down to 11 7/8, and we're going to take a full 2-inch piece off right now, and then I'll show you the wood. There was a little bit of tension in that one also. Well, just my luck. There's a little bit of a funky little rot hole in it. Just figures. Let's scrape this thing off. I'll give you a look at it. Obviously, that side is the mirror image of this. You know, it's amazing for such nice, symmetrical, limb-free cherry logs at how low grade these are. Let's go over, take a look at it. So you can see there's a little bit of figure in it and a little rot hole there. No signs of where that came from. Old limb. It's just an old limb. This is all pretty down here, some kind of pretty cathedral grain. And we are going to flip this thing over, saw the whole thing out, and when we see interesting stuff, I will show it to you. So again, I want to go on scale if I can, but I don't want to waste an opening face. So this is somewhere up around 9. Now I think that's not going to work out great because I think on 8/4 scale, if my memory serves me correctly, 10.5 is on 8/4 scale. We want to end up with a 2-inch board on the bottom, which means we want to set our scale off the top. So we're going to go ahead and come up on 8/4 scale and see what that top cut's going to look like. If it doesn't work out, what we're going to do is we're going to switch from 8/4 to inches. And this is going to be hard to wrap your head around a little bit, but that gains us an 1/8 of an inch a cut so that I could technically come lower on my top and then just cut it on every 2 inches. So cut it like at 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, rather than cutting it on 8/4 scale, which takes the kerf into consideration. So we're going to have to make a determination. What we don't want to do is we don't want to open the top up so that when we drop down 2 inches, we get an unusable 2-inch thick slab that's not going to yield him anything. We want to make sure that our opening face is big enough. So let's take a look. So 8/4 scale is 10.5. The next drop down is 8 3/8. So if we look at this, it's going to be a pretty thick cut, but if I come up to 10.5, I'm not going to have a usable 2-inch piece. It's going to cut out in the middle. It's going to totally miss. So if I come to 10, I'm still going to miss. The other next drop is 8, so it doesn't really work for me to go the other way here. What I would say is let's come down to 8 3/8. And then let's come up and let's make a 5/4 board here. It's not even going to be 5/4. Let's make a full 1-inch board here and come to 9.5. And we'll give him a full 1-inch thick board. He'll use it for something, whatever he decides to build with his cherry. And then we can drop on scale. This height was really worst case scenario. We're still in the sapwood out here. So even this 1-inch thick board isn't going to be great. It'll look fine on the other side, but it's still going to have sapwood on the bottom. Its chances of drying flat are about 0. So now what we're going to do is we're going to drop down that inch, get us back on 8/4 scale and mill through the whole thing. And just like that, we're done with this one. I'm going to start cleaning them off and stacking them over there, and I will show them to you as we go through. Overall, pretty nice. This is a nice board. One of the best ones that he got out of either log right here. Fairly straight grained, not a lot of figure in it, one little stupid knot. And let's get this one off. We'll scrape the next one. Take a look at that. Yeah, the pith is in this slab, so he should be able to cut it out, but got some real nice, going to be quarter sawn wood down that side, maybe a thin strip down this side, but you can see the pith check as the pith meanders through this thing, which is common in cherry. The pith on both ends is like 1 inch down, so it's kind of like right in the middle of the slab. So that whole chunk needs to be cut out. Let's get this one off here and see what the bottom one looks like. Hopefully the bottom one is the money slab. It does have that weird little punky knot in it too, so I don't think it's the greatest in the world, but it will be pretty close to quarter sawn, almost rift sawn. I don't know if you can see the medullary rays in the side down there, all the way down the side. So these are going to be kind of just a little less than perfect quarter sawn. There is a little bit of that pith check right there. And I am going to discount these for Josko Katapovich just because of some of the imperfections in them. I can't charge him $5 a board foot for this stuff. So I'm going to charge him $3. I don't know if you can see how flat and smooth the band cut, but the band cut really good. You can really see that pith check good in that one right there. And he'll be able to take, a really nice chunk out this side, which will be quarter sawn, and then a chunk on the other side. He's going to want to get rid of the sapwood anyway. So I got to get these cleaned up and out of here. We'll get ready for another log. It's almost 10-foot pitch pine up here. We're going to hammer this thing into a 10-inch cant and just mill down through it and get a bunch of 8/4 boards for Brett, Australia Brett. And we're going to give Josko the 9 clearest boards over there, and then the balance will go to Brett. And then I do have one of the 2 mantles that I cut. The guy came, picked up his mantle the other day. One of the 2 mantles that I cut, we're going to cut it in half and make 2x9s out of it. It's 4.5 by 9 right now, so we're actually going to mill it. We're gonna cut a sliver off it to 4 1/8, and then just mill it straight in half and give them 2 2x9s. I don't know if you guys can tell. Maybe we'll talk about it at the end. But yesterday I cleaned and graded the whole yard. I got all of my sawdust out of here, all my flitches out of here. I sold almost everything in the mill yard this week. That's not sitting here waiting for a customer. I sold almost everything else I have, and I'll show you at the end. Well, let's just wipe this one. And that's all she wrote. So quick look around. Now, I sold pretty much my whole construction pile over here, but I had some of these lying over on the side over there. I brought them over here now. I sold this whole bunk of barn board. I sold most of my 8-foot 2x4s. Everything that was sitting down here, everything that was on that bunk that I'm now filling up with the cherry because I have to load the truck up weird. I already know what the board feet is over there, and I have to measure the board feet and the select boards that I pull out of that. And then I cleaned up Sawdust Mountain out of here and graded this all out and got all of my flitches cut up into my campwood bin, all my edgings and stuff like that. And some of them were spruce that was really dry, and that's in the house. So let's do an outro. So that's pretty much it for today, guys. I got to go in and get all this edited. I do have to cut that one beam in half that you guys saw it when I was pointing down next to the big, long Perlin 2x4s. that beam, I got to throw that up there and cut that in half and add it to the stack that we just cut. Those are nothing special. He's actually Brett, Australia. Brett's kind of an organic guy. He likes natural edges and wane and things like that. So we will make sure that Josko gets perfect stuff and that everything left over ends up going to Australia. Brett, for his dock platform, whatever it's going to be. Originally, he needed like 10 to 12 boards. Josko's getting 9. I think there's going to be 8 left over there, I believe. And we have 4 in that stack and 2 coming out of this. So after that, we've got to move over to Mike Trotto's wood. We have 3 black oaks and 1, 2, I think 5 cedars, and I kind of have a wish list for Mike to cut. And then we got to move over to the timber frame. So the one thing we are going to have to do before we go to the timber frame order is we're going to have to do a little bit of an overhaul on that mill. I am going to replace the belts with the new ones. I am going to put the new battery in. The other battery is still working, but it's getting weak. I'm going to do some leveling on the mill. I'm going to adjust my guides, make sure my roller guides are adjusted right. And that's just so that it gives us the best opportunity when we cut this timber frame to cut really nice, square, perfect timbers. Now, they don't have to be, because this is more like a pole barn. It's a timber frame pole barn. They don't have to be perfect, but just give us the best opportunity so we won't have to worry about it. As you can see, Numbnuts over here on the hunt. And then Brian Carroll wants me to come over and put this pole barn up for him. So I don't know how that's going to work out with all the cutting that we have to do and the way the weather's been and with the holiday coming. So we're going to have to see how everything works out. But thanks for coming along for the ride, guys. Hopefully I showed you that whole pitch pine in real time. It would be nice if it was, because it probably only took, I don't know, 9-10 minutes total, even with filming. And we do have to supply the Veterans Center with wood for the Christmas parade floats. And I'm waiting on some info on that. I think Kate will come home with some info today. So we are going to have to cut a bunch of 2x4s. I already have some, but I think they're going to need 2x4s, 4x4s, and a bunch of barn board. And it just kind of stinks that their timing sucks, because I sold that whole rack of like 300 board feet of barn board. But, you know, it is what it is. We'll just cut more. Always appreciate the watch. Danny always appreciates the watch. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Leave us a comment down below. If you hate what we're doing, tell us. If you love what we're doing, tell us. If you want to see something different, tell us. Make sure you hit that little notifications bell so you know when videos come out from us. We try, weather permitting, to put one up every day. Sometimes just doesn't work out so well. It wouldn't have been very fun for you guys to sit here and watch me clean up the mill yard yesterday in the freezing cold, let me tell you. But that's all we got. And for now, for Danny and myself, Pirate Solutions out.